thanks for taking the time today. As I look at my notes, if enough didn't happen in 2020, there's a lot happening in 2021. So what I thought we could do today, particularly since you guys have worked so closely with my clients as well as your own clients over the last 10, 15 years, is kind of go through some of these things. I know we've covered a lot of things with clients in a general way, but I want to get more specific in terms of if some of these things happen, particularly tax reform, what we need to look at. Okay, so let's start with tax reform. The rhetoric, the conversation, it's all out there now, and it's really they're looking at. So we hear individual tax rates, dividend tax rates, capital gain tax rates, estate tax rates, corporate tax rates, and now we got a new one. Apparently, it's going to be a wealth tax. Okay, so we can talk about those things, but I think we want to prepare our clients for specifically what we might have to do to counteract some of these things. So Jay, I'll start with you. I mean, what are your thoughts? What are you sharing with your clients? I know the conversations you're helping me with my clients. Where does this all go if this tax reform thing happens?
So for most of our clients that we're dealing with, we're really focused on the individual level of how does that affect them. So not necessarily business or anything like that. But so the big three things that I really think is important to talk to our clients that we've been talking to everybody has been contributions, Roth conversions, and tax harvesting. So to kind of dig into each of them real quick. Contributions, right now, should we really be considering changing from traditional to maybe trying to put more money into Roth while we know what rates are and we know that they're lower today than they could be tomorrow? And then along the same thought process, since we know what the tax rates are today, maybe we should consider some sort of Roth conversion. So short version, that's where you take money from a traditional IRA, move it to a Roth IRA, pay the taxes today, and lock in tax-free growth for the rest of time, right? So that's the second thing to think about. And then the third thing, you talked about capital gains rates. So we're really keeping note as we meet with each client of who has big gains in their portfolios on the taxable side, right? So not just retirement accounts, but on the taxable side. That maybe towards the end of the year, when we have a better idea of maybe what Congress is or isn't going to do, we'll have a short list of, hey, we need to call this person and really think about go ahead and recognizing some of these gains today when we know what they are, or potentially could be lower than tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah, that's actually great stuff and good ideas. As we sit here in March of 2021, it is a little shocking that we're moving these policy initiatives on at such a rapid pace. And also, I think, Cody, when we look back at 2020, everything that happened there, and now all the stuff that's going on now, it also raises the conversation to a little bit higher level. We've had clients that were furloughed, were laid off, that had their wages frozen, lost their 401k. A lot of clients I know are asking this question of, what about my retirement? Where's my retirement glide path, the strategy? How are you approaching that with clients?
Yeah, you bring up a lot of good points, as 2020 wasn't a crazy year. Now we're going to 2021 with still a lot of unknowns, right? And I think the big theme is reassessing your current financial position. So looking at your financial plan, I'm sure it's changed in some way or another. We had a lot of people lose their jobs or that were furloughed. So how does that affect your future retirement and your future path? Group benefits, things that have been taken away, are they coming back now? I know a big theme we had as well was 401k plans. A lot of employers either stopped them or the matching completely stopped. So if you were saving a certain percentage and you're getting a match of 3 or 4, it's reassessing, well, maybe I need to come up with that other 3 or 4 until hopefully I get that match back again. And it's also looking at, okay, we know that taxes will change in some structure. So will people be long-term tax capital gains? Will that go away, or will that change in some sort of fact? Individual personal rates. So are there other strategies out there, if for myself, that I can go and focus on just registration types? Do I use after-tax accounts? Do I use a strategy of certain tax deferred vehicles, like maybe an annuity could help me out. Do I do Roth conversions, or do I look at maybe trying to put more in my Roth 401k? Those are all great items to have discussions with your advisor and tax professional, and they can help you sort that out.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And again, I know we've all heard it. There's also conversation relative to changing the treatment of tax deferral, right? How does that impact those accounts? And I think when you talk about things like, do we have to have more tax deferral? They're looking at these state tax rates. I think what we're going to see is what's old is new again in a lot of these strategies. And if we're fortunate enough not to really impact tax deferral type solutions and strategies, there are a lot of different things we can do. And I know a lot of folks, we've had specific conversations about, okay, what happened with their nest egg in 2020? Because we all know that in March, the market was getting just absolutely hammered. Everybody thought it was the end of the world. And then shockingly, by December 31st, the market was up almost 20%, utilizing the S&P 500. So given that, Jay, I'll ask you, when you look back and you're looking at clients, and as recently as yesterday, we're talking to clients and you're delivering some very solid news about 2020, what issues does that actually create that 2020 actually turned out to be such a good year with this thought of, oh my God, tax reform hanging over our head?
Right, and I really like joking with the clients, looking at the final returns of 2020, it wasn't half bad. I don't want to relive the whole 2020 by any means, but at least if we had to, we know that, well, the market's what they did. And, that's a comment I just made yesterday. And so the biggest change has been, well, since the equity markets have done so well, we could have what Mark likes to call equity creep in our portfolio. What does that mean? Well, so if we had a goal of 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds, a traditional 60-40, with the good market we had last year, it could now be 65, even 70% in stocks. That number has crept up because stocks have outperformed bonds, right? Kind of makes sense. And so with that, we need to take another look at how much risk are we taking. That's really our biggest job as advisors, is helping our clients understand how much risk are we taking, is it appropriate, should we change that? So maybe it's time to rebalance, looking ahead of how much risk are we taking, is appropriate, do we need to just reallocate back to 60-40 or whatever your target is.
Right. And I like the fact that you always get to deliver the good news, and I'm the one that's got to deliver the bad news. There's something wrong with that, Cody. Okay, so that's looking back on a nest egg or a portfolio. Cody, let's drill down a little deeper in terms of what you talked about. When we look at a client's portfolio, and again, we got the big elephant in the room in terms of tax reform. What now looking forward? A little more specific in terms of strategies you'd look at, things you're concerned about.
Yeah, so going forward with tax strategies, there are vehicles available out there, are types of registrations you can put your money into that can absolutely have an effect and help you out tax impact wise. A big one in the room is using variable annuities. So basically now these annuity companies have come out with what we call investment only VA. So they take all the bells and whistles of a variable annuity, but you still get the tax wrapper on it. So you can put money in there, you can realize gains. As long as you're not taking anything out of the annuity, you're never actually recognizing a gain. And once you take something out of the annuity, it's always gained first, and that's how it's always been. But if we do get rid of long-term taxable gains, an after-tax bucket of money in a variable annuity is going to act the same. So that's certainly one way we can help defer the tax. So there's no way of tax avoidance. We always have to pay the tax at some point. But there are strategies that can help you hopefully accumulate more money without giving it to the IRS. There's, tax vehicles, so everyone knows there are 401ks out there. Depending on what tax bracket you're in, maybe it makes sense to look at trying to put more money towards a Roth. A lot of that has to do with how long I have until retirement and what I'm actually getting taxed today. So making sure that you have an array of actually tax deferred registrations or something that can help you when you actually have to pull money out for retirement, that it's not 100% all taxable to you.
Right. Yeah, great stuff. And it's obvious all these things are really interrelated. whether we're looking at the direct impact of changes in the tax code to investment portfolios or retirement strategies, they're all very intertwined. And even then, which we didn't cover too much today, but the changes in estate tax rates and the credit equivalent, that again, what's old is going to be new again in terms of some of those strategies. So I think the key takeaway, and I appreciate your guys' time today, is that we are keeping our eyes on this prize, and there are strategies, regardless of the various things that they might come up with. We've been here before. So I just wanted all of our clients to be able to hear specifically the things that are on the docket and what we may be talking about, whether it's in 2021 or early 2022. So appreciate your guys' time.
Thank you.